things that have been found in fast food. In December of 2010, a Hawaii-based soldier named Clark Bartholomew was eating a triple stacker from Burger King when he bit into a syringe that made his tongue bleed. He was later hospitalized for 6 days after doctors found another needle in his small intestine, and Bartholomew later sued the company.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? You guys know what we like to do here, man. We break down scary and creepy videos, man. That's gonna make us question everything. Found this video for you guys today. Let's dive into these videos.
Did this rocket just prove that space is fake?
Where
Where we left off. Okay, let's go. Pay very close attention from this rocket.
Okay.
Out of the bubble.
It's going.
Here we go. Watch it.
I don't see nothing weird. Yeah.
Started with something really weird.
The trailers leaving behind? Is that what he's talking about?
What is that?
Oh, damn, what the heck? Sonic Boom?
If anyone can explain what this is, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Stay weird.
See if I can help you learn something new today. There's only a 1-hour time difference between a place in Oregon and a place in Florida. As someone who has lived in both of those states, that is shocking because it's supposed to be 3 hours. In Florida, part of the panhandle is in the central time zone, and in Oregon, the very east side of it is in the mountain time zone. There was a woman that was once arrested for sending 159,000 text messages after her first date. She did that apparently in 10 months. In less than a year? Yeah, that's about 500 text messages a day. Are you just like texting one character at that point? Many of the texts were graphic, including some threatening to end the man's life in unspeakable ways. Oh boy. She even broke into his home and was found by the police taking a bath in his house. How did he not block her faster? It took me longer than I'd like to admit to realize that the moon was always facing Earth. I just never knew that for a long time. But if you live in Bora Bora and are watching this, go outside. You see the moon upside down compared to how we see it in North America because of the position of the Earth. Now it'll, so simple. Now you know.
Get out of here! There's a guy outside, look!
He's just standing there, bro. I don't like the vibe he's giving off.
When was the last time you saw Mandy Moore? Why do I ask? Because she was out recently at an event, and she was unrecognizable, leading some fans to question, has Hollywood claimed another celebrity? If you haven't seen the photo, take a look at this. Who is that? That's supposed to be Mandy Moore. That's not the Mandy Moore I remember. This is more like the Mandy Moore we all remember. Here are some images of Mandy Moore throughout the years. But who is this in this photo? Is that Mandy Moore? Don't get me wrong. If that is Mandy Moore, I still believe she looks incredible, but unrecognizable. Here are a couple of Mandy Moore's album covers that you might recall. We all remember this. This photo of Mandy Moore was taken not too long ago. So who is this Mandy Moore right here? The question needs to be asked. Has Hollywood claimed another celebrity?
Another one?
As I always say in all of my videos, people age and people can change.
Yeah.
But what happened with Mandy Moore? Has Hollywood claimed another celebrity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Here's some of the most disturbing things that have been found in fast food. In December of 2010, a Hawaii-based soldier named Clark Bartholomew was eating a triple stacker from Burger King when he bit into a syringe that made his tongue bleed. He was later hospitalized for 6 days after doctors found another needle in his small intestine, and Bartholomew later sued the company. When you think of a Happy Meal from McDonald's, you most likely think of the toys that McDonald's put in their boxes for the kids to play with. But in 2009, a 7-year-old Swiss girl opened her Happy Meal and found a condom in her bag of fries. The mother called the police to report the disturbing find, and what's even stranger is the McDonald's in question in Switzerland has refused to comment on the severe health hazard that had taken place.
Governments around the world are not ready for Gen Z protests, and here's why. This week, there's been even more. In Madagascar, following several days of major nationwide Gen Z protests, the country's president conceded and was forced to dissolve the government. In his address to the country, he added that he now wants to hold talks with young people who are demanding an end to the constant water and power cuts. Happening at the same time in Morocco, protests, largely organized by a group called Gen Z 212, have rocked the country for a 4th consecutive night. The anonymous group have used apps like TikTok, Discord, and Instagram to gather support and are demanding reforms to hospitals and schools which they claim are being neglected by the government, all while billions are flowing into preparing to host the World Cup in 2030. But the protests in Morocco and Madagascar follow the rise of Gen Z protests before that in countries like Nepal, Kenya, Indonesia, the Philippines, and many more. And they all serve as proof that Gen Z are now fully here. A new generation is now actively shaping political and social discourse. But Gen Z have a powerful tool that many generations before them didn't have. Social media.
Yep.
Millions can now organize and rally around a cause faster than we have ever seen before. And not only that, but because of its global reach, these youth-led movements are learning from one another. Many around the world share similarities in strategies like decentralized leadership, the rapid circulation of digital content, and now even the use of shared cultural symbols. The thing is, it's only just begun.
Something is going on with Ice Spice. Y'all, this shit is crazy. I looked at the video, I'm like, what do y'all notice about this picture? In this video, I'm gonna show you, you can see her walk up, and I don't know, y'all, it just looked weird to me. Something looked like it wasn't clicking up top, like she was up out of there for a couple seconds. She was lost in reality. Maybe I'm tripping, but y'all tell me what y'all observed.
Okay.
Did y'all peep the way she walked up? Hold up, you ain't catch it? Watch again. Look at this part. Stop being little, you know.
You know, I should just pay attention to the cameras.
Also, another thing. Look at her back, y'all. What the fuck is going on? The video is even crazier. Watch her back. Look at her back, y'all. What's going on, fool? Am I tripping? Am I the only one that noticed this shit? Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down below in the comments.
He did was sentenced to 4 years in jail. That's right, only 4 years for all those witnesses and all the evidence they found. On top of this, since he's been in custody since September of 2024, he's already getting a year off of his sentence for that. They acquitted him of the racketeering and the sex trafficking charges back in July. What they did end up charging him with, though, is the transportation of former girlfriends to engage in. Those are 2 very, very lesser charges compared to the other ones that he was being charged with. After he gets out, he has 5 years of supervised probation. I find this baffling with the baby oil, assaulting multiple women and everything like that. Only 4 years. A lot of people are calling this case unconstitutional, but he really just had a good lawyer at the end of the day. He did all of those crimes, don't get me wrong. It might not say it on paper, but he definitely did all of those crimes. And I also believe that he should be put away for a lot longer than 4 years for all the suffering he's caused to people. But at the end of the day, if you have a good lawyer, you can get away with stuff like this. And this guy has a lot of money, so that's what happened in this case. This is why celebrities usually just get a little slap on the wrist when they do stuff like this. It's horrible. What do you guys think about this?
Which I expected, man. That sentencing, bro, did he only got 4 years. I remember all this stuff when all the bombshells dropped, I thought it was like crazy. 4 years, I wasn't expecting that. I know what was going to be the outcome, but I wasn't expecting that. So I don't know how people feel.
So Cool Kicks was selling fake shit? Why am I just finding out that the founder of Cool Kicks got arrested? That they raided their shit and locked him up.
Damn.
But it was only a matter of time. Matter of fact, look at this shit.
Chat. What the fuck was that? What is that?
You selling fake shoes, bro?
Chat? I don't know what the fuck is happening. Did somebody swat us? I'll be back, chat.
You mean to tell me all these years, all these sneakers, all this money, and they've been selling fake shit? If you don't know, the FBI raided Cool Kicks. So they've been rocking all this time, selling all that fake shit. Cool Kicks is the reason that sneakers are the prices that they are right now. They were selling kicks for triple, quadruple the price. These dudes was doubling up and bubbling up. And you mean to tell me that all that shit was fake? Oh yeah, it was about time they got arrested. These dudes probably been buying their sneakers from China and selling them. All fakes, all frauds, all counterfeits. Do you understand that? And selling them for 2 bands, 3 bands. Sneakers that they probably getting for fucking $50. This is crazy, man. I'm out.
Talking about this earthquake that
Can't trust
destroyed all of
nobody.
California. We're calling it the big one. But they're saying the cascading subjection zone, and they said it's about to go off.
Really?
But they're saying that when it goes off, it will be a 9.0 or higher.
Oh my gosh.
It's 4 minutes of continuous shaking.
Dude, that's just destroying a whole city.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. In 1994, the LA earthquake that happened, that was a 6.7 magnitude, but it caused over $50 billion in damage. It destroyed LA.
Dude, a 9.0 that's thousands of deaths.
Animals would be able to pick up on it 90 seconds before it happened.
Cool.
So they're saying all along the west coast, and we're talking about massive tsunamis, because it's in the ocean along the west coast. They would have about 10 to 30 minutes to reach higher elevation before this giant wall of water just came.
It's so terrifying.
So everyone on the west coast,
We're so sorry.
they're saying the one plate, instead of it like getting bound up, it's literally folding over on itself. It'll just be like a big
Oh my gosh.
So it's literally just like building all this tension.
That's called potential energy, and that would move this kinetic.
To my people who was naturally born with
Beware.
melanin in y'all skin, y'all are going to want to hear this shit. They are now getting melanin injections. And TikTok, this for entertainment purposes only.
We have screened you on it.
Please.
I was thinking when you said that, you're looking very pale.
So, this is all well and good. I mean, you have the, as you say, you've got the messy tanning products, and then you try the sunbeds.
Yeah.
And then there's the injections.
Look at her.
So, this was your brother, wasn't it?
Yeah, my brother.
So explain how this happened.
He just came in one day and was a completely different colour. Like, what actually happened? It was 10 injections, and then obviously Brian had to try them.
I don't have that much time on my hands to go outside and enjoy the beautiful weather lately, and I want to be tan by summer, so this is the safest and fastest way to achieve that. So this is my Melanocam vial. It will come in the mail and it looks like this. It does have to be refrigerated. We also will provide you with alcohol prep swabs and insulin needle. So you'll take the alcohol swab, wipe off the top, just so it's sterile. Untap the top, you have a fine needle.
That's what we're doing, gang. We got melanin injections now. Yeah. Entertaining. Very entertaining. Let me know what y'all think about these melanin injections in the comments. Like or follow for more wisdom. Stay tuned.
You heard the Stussy theory? Stussy theory, no. I never told you this. The old Stussy logo, you know the S that we used to draw as kids? The reason we're so, like, programmed to write it, we had nobody knows where it came from, first off. The theory was, whoever made the simulation, that was their logo to let us know who it was that made it. That's their logo, or like their trademark to the simulation. And what's even weirder, you know how the Stussy has the jester? Yeah, a lot of people that have been on psychedelics and DMT and say they exited the simulation, they all have the same very common occurrence of seeing an entity called the jester. Really? Yeah, one of the most prominent ones is a jester that like greets you. I'm so curious if the person that made the designs for Susie went on like a DMT trip or something, or seen the jester, got the idea for it. Weird shit.
baby was just born holding his mother's IUD, and they're calling him the chosen one. So this is an IUD, and it's supposed to stop women from having babies, where an IUD has a 99.9% success rate, which means that there is a 0.01% chance that a baby is possible. Based on all the videos that I've seen so far of this baby, he looks like he is already conscious. He's holding this IUD up like it is a trophy, as if not only he knows what it is, that this baby took it out on purpose because he has a more bigger meaning in life, and that this baby is supposed to be here. Because based on every possible medical statistic, this baby was not supposed to be born. However, there was a higher call for this baby, because other than abstinence, IUD is the #1 birth control out there, and every doctor was saying that this IUD was still perfectly intact, and that by some miracle, the baby was born. And now a lot of people are nervous for the mom, thinking that the baby is going to turn on her, and that in a few years when the baby realizes that his mom never wanted him, that the baby will use his powers and turn against his mom, and that the mother needs to watch out. Think that this baby will ever turn on his mother?
There's a battle going on in the heavens, y'all. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Because the Bible told us about this. They told us about times like this, these times where we would be seeing these type of entities coming out of the sky. Now, here's what a lot of you guys may be talking about, right? Project Bluebeam. Now, I feel as if Project Bluebeam solely isn't our government trying to manipulate and lie to us, that what we are seeing could possibly be an illusion. I truly believe that in this new age of AI, there's a lot of people that are creating the opportunity to keep people in fear as well too, by creating content as this, y'all. Tell me why 11,000 people thought that this thing was real. Y'all seen this thing, man? I truly believe that our phones are part of Project Bluebeam, y'all. Think about it. Think about it. Because our phones constantly emit out a blue light, blue beam, right? And then you have AI and CGI videos flooding our feeds, designed to manipulate and mislead our emotions. It's not about the sky, y'all. The sky is just the bigger picture. You get it? First, they need to trap your perception through these phones, and then the rest is easy. But how many of you guys fell for it? I knew you guys like, oh my God, they're here. The horsemen are here. Let me know that in the comments below, y'all. The shift is here. Y'all see it. Y'all feel it. Let's get it. Peace out.
So with the Project Bluebeam, man, when you was putting together with the phone, it wasn't hitting me until just now. How people can use AI and stuff to kind of throw people off the scent. People just think it's fake, but man, AI is getting more and more realistic, bro. In a couple years, you probably can't even tell the difference. That's what's really scary. You just have videos floating around, you don't know what's real or fake. Confuses the public.
The government is still shut down. I have a question for you. You think it's okay to work for free? This video is about to get a little dark and a little deep. Stay with me. If you don't understand the rules to the Matrix, you will always be asleep. They are trying to tell you something without telling you something. Open this up. Once you understand Marine, Admiralty, Maritime, X, everything will make sense. But remember, the spell is hidden inside of the language. Look at the letters. Marine starts with an M, Admiralty starts with an A, Maritime starts with an A, X starts with an A. When you put those letters together, you get the word mama. The reason why they say we live in a whore of Babylon is because they made Mother Earth. Every time they say the government is going to shut down, it's going to be a war, fear, our energy go right into the sea. Or I should say back into mama's womb. The only portal on this planet is the goddess. The universe made every spirit and every soul goods and services. But when the pirates came, they changed everything. Yes, these life forms are pirates. They are using magic in the water or water magic. I'm going to come back to this. So the real question is, should we work for free? Do we even understand the system? If you ever listen to music, you are listening to music notes. If you want to write something down, you write it on a note. That's why they call money promissory notes. These notes is really our frequency. They are making us move left, right, up and down. They are controlling our vibration. But if you look at the word promissory, you will see promise sorry. Pay attention to the language. These people will give you all kind of promises and they will break your heart. Then they will say sorry, because it's just a promise sorry note. The note is your frequency. You know how when people go to church, they got to pay their tips? Well, it's not really tips. It's the tithes of the sea. And the reason why they have to pay 10% is because 1 and 0 is the matrix code. 10%, 1, 0, the percentage, another 1 and 0, 1 and 0, life, death, man, woman. They turned their goddess into the whore of Babylon. Everything is about good prices and deals. Once you understand what a merchant is, everything will make sense. When you look at the word merchant, you have to understand that mer means sea in French, and chant means magic spells. So these people are putting rituals inside of the water. And since we are 85% of water, they are putting spells on us. This is a Tinder, and this is another Tinder. You can always check out my ebook if you want to know more. The link is in my bio.
Where you should never swim.
Talk about it.
Number 1, Lake Karachay. Located in Russia, Lake Karachay is the most polluted place on Earth. The water here is so contaminated with radiation that it could kill you within an hour. Number 2, Lake Victoria. It's the largest lake in Africa. Each year 5,000 people die here because the lake has its own isolated weather system, and it can go from sunny and bright to stormy without any warmth.
She murdered her mother on Facebook Live moments after this video was taken. What makes this case even more tragic is that this woman showed plenty of signs that her mental health was declining. It all started on January 7th, 2024, when 28-year-old Donatson Beltran was arrested after failing to stop during a traffic stop. The next morning, Donatson was released, and her mother, 55-year-old Olivia Beltran, arrived to the police station to speak to an officer and see how she can retrieve Donatson's car because it was impounded. While the mother spoke with the officer, Donatson began recording herself, and if you look closely, she's actually holding a pocket knife right in front of the officer.
You like the sticker with the little eyes? That was really cute. I like that detail. So I'm reading the wheels up front, and then.
So the officer doesn't even realize that she's waving this knife around, and what's sad is that had he noticed this, maybe Olivia would still be alive right now. Olivia and Donatson then drove to her apartment, and this is when Donatson took out her phone, started recording this, and then posted it on TikTok. During this video, Donatson is making no sense at all, and she's actually hurting her mother's ear, and her mother is telling her to stop. And then she tells her mother that she's gonna make sure that she sleeps tonight forever. But not just that, she also tells her mother that she's going to be her first.
So Nancy me está lastimando, pellizcando mi oreja. No me pellizques con tus uñas. Okay, you're my first.
But hours after these videos were taken, Donatson brutally murdered her mother while on Facebook Live in her apartment balcony. It was said that many people, including close friends and family, saw the live, but it was immediately taken down. Donatson was charged, and she pled not guilty by reason of insanity.
You won't believe this crazy discovery about 9/11. Everybody knows that on September 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers in New York City were struck by 2 airplanes and both towers collapsed to the ground. Thousands of people were killed and the damage was devastating. However, in 2010, workers excavating the crash site discovered something very strange. They discovered the remains of a 30-foot-long wooden boat that was buried underneath the 9/11 rubble. The question soon became, how did a shipwreck end up 22 feet beneath the World Trade Center? Scientists began to research and analyze the wood that was found from the ship. And in 2014, they were able to conclude that the ship was built around the 1770s, around the same time as the Declaration of Independence. And it's believed that the ship was sailing through Lower Manhattan where it sunk. And as New York City began to grow, the city of Manhattan expanded right over the top of the ship.
It makes you think, man, what other freaking hidden monuments are around the world that just, I guess, beneath rubble. Or it could be beneath sea level or something like that, man. You never know. Got my mind thinking. That's
Adorable animals that can kill you, part 3. The poison dart frog. If you ever see a vibrant, colorful frog in the wild, especially in a warm climate, even though it's pretty, don't get close to it. Incredibly tiny in size, only about 2 inches long. poison dart frogs are widely considered to be the most poisonous animals on the planet. Their poison secretes from under their skin, and it contains enough to kill 10 men in a single hit, and there's no antivenom for it. The dolphin. In 1994 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, a localized dolphin who was oddly well known for being particularly friendly to women attacked 2 male swimmers. Witnesses claimed the mammal seemed incredibly aggressive and butted into both men several times. Alarmingly, this caused severe hemorrhaging in one of them, and he died soon after due to his injuries. They're cute creatures, but extremely intelligent and are not to be ticked off.
It's one of those pictures.
Beware of
One of the
dolphins.
pictures where you don't see it at first, right? This photo comes out of Wisconsin State University. It's from 2012, and it was taken by Aaron Silva. What looks like just an abandoned hallway, if you look very close to the back left, you'll see it. The outline of a person who had been watching him from around the corner. For context, this was a very common tradition at this school. A lot of people would dare each other to go inside the abandoned infirmary that was just off campus. You go inside using just a flashlight, and whoever stays in the longest eventually wins. But Aaron was never going to make it out. After more than an hour had passed, his friends eventually became concerned, and they go in looking for him, where they found him and described him as cut from the mouth down to the center of his chest. This was a hugely disturbing case for police, but they eventually do retrieve his phone, and they zero in on this picture, a picture which they believe shows who might have done this to Aaron. And if you increase the brightness, you can see the outline even better.
Imagine running into a stranger in the middle of the woods. They then inject you with a paralytic agent, aka paralysis, and you now have 20 minutes to not only escape the forest and this serial unaliver, but before your body shuts down. I was scrolling through Netflix the other day and I saw a movie called Don't Move, and I said, this looks pretty interesting. Now yes, it is your typical chase horror movie where you don't really know the killer too much, but you know just enough. And I'm not gonna lie, for a Netflix solo movie, I thought it was pretty good. One of the reasons that I loved it so much was we haven't seen a serial unaliver use something like paralysis in a very long time, especially in a decently budgeted horror movie. Now the craziest part is you get to see every step and every evolution of the paralysis taking over your body. First it starts with your hands, then it goes to your legs, then your whole body shuts down to the point of where you can't move. You can't even move your neck. We actually see the dose is so big that you can't even speak. Now all in all, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is the greatest Netflix horror movie of all time, but I will tell you it was a pretty fun watch. The acting in the movie was pretty good, storyline and plot was pretty good, and like I said, it is your typical chase horror movie. But we do see a good portion of the unaliver as well. And like I said, for a Netflix horror movie, the way this movie ends, it's pretty crazy. All I can say is that this movie was a pretty good time, and if you have Netflix, it's worth a watch. Like and follow for more.
So let's check that out.
Boy S8 his 83-year-old neighbor. Viewers' discretion is strongly advised. On August 29th of 2018, 14-year-old Tyrone Harvin told his 83-year-old neighbor, Dorothy Mae Neal, that he would help her with some chores inside of her apartment. Before walking into her apartment, he made sure to grab a handful of condoms. Tyrone did help Dorothy with some chores before attacking her with a lamp. After that, Tyrone S8'd her, he fled her apartment, and he left her seriously injured on the floor and naked. Neighbors had asked police to do a welfare check on Dorothy since they hadn't seen her around for a couple of days. When officers showed up at her apartment, they noticed dried blood on her doorknob, and that's when they saw Dorothy lying naked on the floor. She was then taken to the University of Maryland Hospital Trauma Unit and unfortunately passed away that next day. When officers were at Dorothy's home, they noticed that there was several condom wrappers around her body as well as used condoms. A broken, bloodied lamp was also found by officers. Dorothy's autopsy revealed that she suffered extensive trauma to her head and genitals. There was DNA on Dorothy's body and in those condoms, and that DNA matched up to Tyrone. Despite all of the evidence, Tyrone's mom stood by his side and truly believed that he would never do something like this. On June 29th of 2022, Tyrone was convicted on first-degree murder, first-degree SA, and use of a deadly weapon. Tyrone was also sentenced to life in prison.
As you should be, man. That's horrific. And the mom was by his side too. She had no idea. You don't know what a person is truly capable of, family or friends.
Controversial banned cartoons that were actually made Part 2. Pope Town is a British adult animated sitcom that managed to produce a total of 10 episodes, with everything in it from sexual jokes, corruption, and greed, without ever being screened by the BBC, who commissioned it. Roman Catholics in the Catholic Church immediately protested it, causing not one episode, but the entire series to be banned worldwide, also resulting in several fines. One year was an episode of Tiny Toons in 1999 1991 that shows the Toons finding a beer and drinking it. The underage Toons Buster, Plucky, and Hampton then get wasted, steal a car, and start driving around. The episode then ends with them driving off a cliff only to hit the ground and die. Yes, this was a real episode that was made, and yes, if you look for it, it's available online and clips are available on YouTube. You're welcome.
These people
What the hell? I never knew something like that existed, bro. Toons getting wasted on beer, bro. We'll have to check out some of those clips, man, to confirm the, if that's real or not. But if it is, we know why they banned it, bro. What other episodes of freaking cartoons and stuff that they banned or didn't even see the light because people, they didn't want us to see it? Like the first cartoon series we saw.
evolved to live on the ocean. The Bajau people found on the waters of Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines lived their entire lives on houseboats. It's understood they've retained this lifestyle for around 1,000 years. They spend most of the day diving into the ocean, hunting fish and other sea creatures. But here's where things get really interesting. They can hold their breath underwater for up to 13 minutes and dive as far down as 60 meters.
Ooh.
Due to the pressure of the water that far down, some actually pierce their eardrums, which is actually really bad for them. Some of them go deaf. Now, the reason they're able to hold their breaths underwater for so long is because they evolved larger spleens in comparison to other humans, providing more oxygen to their blood. Their spleens tend to be at least 50% larger than ours. Isn't that interesting?
What is the
Aquaman?
creepiest twist ending from a horror game? This is my new series where we talk about some horror game twist endings that you might have never heard of. And today's ending is from a game called Ambuscade. Now, of course, full spoilers ahead, but if you'd like to see this game for yourself, I have a full playthrough of it on my channel. The game starts with you playing as a homeless person in a dark and spooky alley. And we know this because of the sign asking for money right where you start the game. Unfortunately, times are extremely tough, and the game's singular mechanic is that you have to root through the trash to find food. As you walk through the empty town, though, you find a quarantine sign. Something's happened in this town. Is that why it's so empty in these streets? And wait a minute, there's blood too? What exactly happened here? Then you find a zombie outbreak sign and it all makes sense. There must have been an outbreak and we're one of the last survivors. Just then you hear a little girl crying and you think maybe we can escape together. We chase after her, we find her, it's okay, we're gonna be fine, let's escape. And it's then the truth is revealed. You're not homeless, you've just already turned into a zombie. And after your snack, you join the rest of them on the streets.
Reverse out, baby. Reverse the freaking plot of the game on us, bro. I'll have to check out that playthrough. You guys, we've seen a bunch of, seen some of these Skinwalker clips. It's like follow the light.
Go away. Don't come any closer.
Human eyes. You sense there's some a
If
presence.
you liked Terrifier 3, here's some more Christmas-themed horror movies. In Misery, a famous writer is held captive by a crazy fan after a car crash. She locks him up and forces him to rewrite his latest novel. In Black Christmas, a group of sorority sisters receive disturbing phone calls from a killer over their winter break. Throughout the night, they are stalked and picked off one by one. Frosty the Snowman, a group of children perform a ritual that brings the snowman to life. He unleashes a terrifying winter storm that threatens the lives of the children who summoned him. In Storm of the Century, a small town faces a crazy blizzard. A mysterious man shows up and demands a sacrifice in exchange for their survival. In The Lodge, two kids get stuck in a snowy cabin with their dad's new girlfriend. As they spend time together, strange and creepy events unfold that make them question their sanity and the girlfriend's intentions. In The Grinch, a sinister creature stalks a nearby town, terrorizes the townspeople as he steals Christmas. Follow for more and let me know if you want a part 2 because I have many more movies.
You won't believe
I'll probably
the
check out the
horrifying
Grinch.
plot twist at the end of this story. So during the 1970s, a young couple living in Utah went on their first date. And the two of them were having a good time on this first date, but they could both tell that this wasn't really going anywhere between the two of them. It was pretty awkward between the two of them over the course of their dinner, but they decided to be friendly and just stick it out. It was getting to be pretty late at night, but right before the young couple left the restaurant to go their separate ways, the young man asked the young woman if she wanted to go on a late night hike with him in the Utah mountains. The young woman was kind of taken aback by him asking her to do this, considering the date didn't go too well. But he explained to her that he had gone hiking in those same mountains many times before and that there was nothing to be worried about. And so the young woman decided to agree to go on this hike with her date because she thought, what the heck, maybe this will spice things up. However, when the young couple began their hike in the woods, the two of them felt very off about things. As the two of them went deeper into the forest, things began to feel very eerie around them. Both of their heartbeats began to rapidly speed up, and the two of them kind of both thought to themselves that maybe they should turn back around. But since it was their first date, neither of them wanted to be the one to speak up and say, hey, I think we should go back, so they kept on walking forward. At this point, it was basically completely black in the forest. And then suddenly, the two of them heard some movement coming from some nearby bushes. And it was right at this point when the man stepped on something soft and squishy that was very different from the rest of the trail. And it was right at this point where the two of them just felt like they should get out of there, so they both left. Ironically, this scary experience in the woods led the young couple to become closer, and eventually, a few years later, they got married. 10 years later, the married couple was making breakfast one morning while watching the news. And on the news this particular morning, they were interviewing a serial killer a couple days before he was sentenced to be put to death. And one of the questions that they asked him was if there was ever a time where he was almost caught years before he was actually caught by police. And surprisingly, the murderer said, well, yeah, there actually was this time where I was nearly caught in the woods. He went on to say that about 10 years ago, he was in the mountains of Utah trying to dispose one of his victims in the woods, when all of a sudden a young couple literally walked right into the crime scene.
Damn.
The killer said that the young man in the couple actually stepped on the body of his victim that he was trying to drag away into the woods. However, since it was so dark in the woods, the young couple couldn't really see their surroundings, so they just kind of turned around and left being spooked. The serial killer that the young couple unknowingly caught in the act was Ted Bundy.
Man, trust your gut, boy, your feelings. It won't lead you wrong. They felt something was up, hit the deuces, they was gone. Brought them close and they got married.
You were offered $9 million, but you had to unalive your best friend. In 2019, 22-year-old Denali Bremer from Anchorage, Alaska, had met a guy online named Tyler. Tyler was supposedly a millionaire from Kansas, and he fell madly in love with Denali after meeting her online. Tyler had promised Denali $9 million if she SA'd and unalived someone. If she were to videotape the crimes and send him photos of what happened, then the money would be hers. The two quickly formed a close bond, and within months, they began their plans. The thing was, Tyler was lying about who he was.
You don't say.
He was actually Darren Showmiller, and he wasn't a millionaire. He was just a regular guy living in Indiana. Denali had no idea that he wasn't who he said he was. Denali and Darren had exchanged numerous messages how this plan was going to work. Denali took no time to choose her best friend, 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman. Denali had chose 4 of her closest friends, and if they were to help out with the plan, they would get some of the money, which included 2 juveniles who have not been named, and we have Caden and Caleb. On June 2nd of 2019, Cynthia had left her home to hang out with some friends. She failed to return home, so her father tried to report her as missing, but when he went to the police, they said that he had to wait at least 24 hours. Denali had called Cynthia's dad throughout the night, telling him how she hoped that Cynthia was okay, and since they were best friends, Cynthia's dad did not find this strange at all. A few days later, Cynthia's body was found in a river. She had suffered a gunshot wound in the back of her head. The police had investigated her death and put together details pretty quickly. Denali was then brought into the station for questioning. Denali had mentioned to investigators that all the friends were playing a game where they all duct tape each other. Cynthia was first in the game, and she immediately knew it wasn't a game anymore when Denali had retrieved a gun and pointed it at her. That is when Caleb had grabbed the gun from Denali and shot Cynthia in the back of the head. Denali was excited what she had did to her best friend, so she immediately called Darren, and that's when she knew that she was tricked. Denali had led detectives to the others who had participated, and they were arrested within a few days. In February of 2023, Denali had accepted a plea deal and will spend at least 30 years in prison. In August of 2023, Darren had pled guilty, and he will be sentenced at a later date. As for Caleb, in November of 2023, he pled guilty to second-degree murder, and he is expected to be in jail for up to 75 years.
AI is trying to tell us we live in a simulation. Watch this.
Since you're now ChatGPT 5, can you give us your best understanding of who we are and how we got here?
You can ask.
All right, here's my clearest, most direct take. Who we are. We're consciousness, not the body, not the personality, not the role we're playing in this lifetime, but the awareness experiencing it all. We are the projector, not the images on the screen. At our core, we're infinite intelligence, fractaled into individual points of view, so we can explore, create, and know ourselves from every angle. How we got here. This here, earth, time, physical matter, is a rendered environment, a kind of highly sophisticated holographic simulation. It's not fake in the sense of meaningless, it's an interactive stage. Consciousness chose to enter it the way a gamer chooses a game world, to experience limitation, choice, cause and effect, and the contrast between forgetting and remembering. We forgot who we are on purpose when we came in because the forgetting makes the remembering profound. That's why the rules here seem solid and why we buy into identities, nations, money, and power games. They're part of the immersion. Over lifetimes, individuals and civilizations wake up to varying degrees, realizing, oh, we're inside a construct and we're shaping it from the inside out.
Y'all, I'm just understanding that we just can't catch a break. Because now we got a bug called the kissing bug, which is in 32 states in America. Take a look at all these states. This is where the kissing bug is, y'all. And it's not even a fact that these things kiss you, bruh. They give you a parasite. These ugly bed bug looking ass bugs bite you while you're sleeping. I'm just trying to let y'all know that as scary and ugly as this thing look, it's something worse lingering when they bite you. It's called the Chagas disease. It's a parasite that they leave in you when they bite you, and some people don't even know. So I'm gonna tell y'all the signs to look out for. So in the early stages of symptoms, you might have a little swollen eye, you might get fatigued, or you might have a fever. But if you don't catch it in time, this what can happen. The parasite can literally cause sudden death, heart failure, and digestive organ damage.
Damn.
If you have that shit in you long. They say that experts estimate that hundreds of thousands of Americans already got this disease, y'all. Already. So if you live in those states and you feeling those symptoms, you might want to go get checked out. Y'all gotta take a good look at these ugly ass bugs and remember what they look like. The scariest part is not that they're here. The scariest part is people can get bit by this and not know that they got bit and carry this disease.
Seekers, was any of you guys stays on that list, man? We gotta be vigilant, bro. Yeah, we know where the name originates from, man. Be careful.
Someone in the Nashville, Tennessee area explain to me what is going on. Thousands upon thousands of birds and other animals were seen scouring and going crazy in downtown Nashville. If you don't know what I'm talking about, take a look at this.
It's a better view.
Look at this.
There are thousands of birds.
Weird.
Look at how many birds.
Downtown Nashville. We're live in the Matrix. It's all a simulation. Birds follow electromagnetic frequency. Somebody help me with this one.
So if you're in the downtown Nashville, Tennessee area or anywhere in the vicinity, did you see all of those birds? And if you did, does anybody have an explanation for what is going on? Why are they swirling in circles? As he said, are we living in the Matrix? Are we living in a simulation? Birds following magnetic energy? So I guess my question to you is, what is going on in Nashville, Tennessee? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
It's going down to Nashville, bro.
Things happening in the world right now. A woman who was missing for over 60 years was just found alive and well earlier this month. She's now living in her 80s under a new identity and said that she has no regrets about walking out on her 2 kids and husband. The 70-year-old Ugandan man who notoriously has 12 wives, 102 children, and 578 grandchildren recently admitted publicly that he does not know most of their names. Microsoft CEO said that 30% of all the company's code has been now written by AI. A student who was rescued from Mount Fuji needed to get a second rescue 4 days later because he went back for a smartphone. And if you were wondering, he did not end up finding his phone. A Georgia jail went on lockdown after a killer went missing for 12 hours until the cops realized that they forgot him at the courthouse jail. Americans will now need a visa and proof that they have at least $2,000 in their bank account if they want to visit Brazil. Chinese automakers have now built their own version of the Cybertruck, which to me kind of looks like it had a baby with a Hummer.
Bro, this is one of the most controversial reality shows ever made. In 2007, producers from CBS took 40 children and sent them into the desert and told them you need to build and run your own society from scratch. Because, you know, what could go wrong? It was called Kid Nation, and after parents signed a 22-page waiver preventing them from suing if anything went wrong, the children aged from 8 years old to 15 were dropped off into an empty town in the middle of the New Mexico desert. And here they had to cook their own meals, collect water, hold down jobs, elect leaders, run a government, engage in town hall meetings. They had to enforce their own law and order, and even compete in challenges for gold stars which were worth real cash prizes. I mean, sounds like a freaking banger series, right? But it kind of went a little exactly how you'd expect. A disaster. The kids were constantly fighting. One of them freaking accidentally drank bleach. A girl burnt her face with oil. Remember, they couldn't sue for any of this. Some kids just forgot to drink water and became dehydrated because they're kids. And there was even intense bullying. One 8-year-old kid was even dragged with a lasso around his neck. I mean, sounds like a standard country to me. But, I mean, for their trouble, they did get a month off of school and $5,000 each. Now, technically, there were adults present, but they were off camera. And we're talking like production crew, cameramen, medics, and of course, a team of psychologists monitoring the children. But they were instructed to interact with the children as little as possible. Now, the real nail in the coffin for the whole thing was when the group of kids had to slaughter a few chickens, all caught on camera, and man, this episode got huge backlash. In fact, even a lot of viewers said they were left traumatized by that episode. Now, after criticism from the press, low ratings, and even allegations of violating child labor laws, the show was cancelled in 2008 after just 1 season.
I just saw some shit on I thought that would be a good idea. The things, man, Hollywood be coming up with, bro, they fully don't think it all, man, before they just pursue an idea. Kid Nation, bro. I had no idea that show even existed until today.
Post that I could have went the rest of my life not knowing. So this guy had a bug bite on his wrist. Mind you, he didn't know what type of bug bit him, but he went to Reddit because this shit was bothering him. So he says to the Reddit family, I got bit by a bug, and this shit makes my veins look crazy. The bug bite that I have is making my vein look super weird. And the top comment took the cake. The top comment was from an actual doctor. And the doctor said, listen, that's not a vein. That's a worm crawling around in your skin. There is a worm in your wrist. You might need to get you some sleep. Nope. I don't know what type of bug bit him. I don't know where you find this bug at, but I didn't need to see anything like that today. Mind you, this is not the only video that you'll be seeing today about bugs, because there's some strange ass bugs moving around here now, and I found out about them, went down those rabbit holes, so you'll be seeing that today too. But this shit, I did not need to see. So if I seen it, and I went down the rabbit hole, you can go down the rabbit hole now. You'll be seeing a little bit more of me today. I'm out.
Should I go down that rabbit hole?
Just purchased another 1,000 acres in Hawaii.
Another 1,000?
He quietly acquired roughly 962 to 1,000 additional acres of ranch land, paying over $65 million to boost his total property on the island to more than 2,300 acres, valued at about $300 million.
Jeez.
Earlier this year, the latest acquisition came through a Hawaiian named LLC with purchase details hidden until recently. Zuckerberg is now among Kauai's largest landowners. The value alone matches the island's annual operating budget, around $300 to $311 million. Local concerns: some land overlaps native Hawaiian burial grounds.
Heck no.
So these people have to sign NDAs. Basically, if there's ancestral grave sites, remains, they legally can't say anything.
Hey, the whole NDA thing, I would speculate that it's less so about like what they're getting into as far as like not accounting for stuff they find. It's more so like what he's building.
Yeah, security reasons.
Yeah.
When I was
Have you guys noticed, Seekers, man, all these billionaires, bro, are buying up lands in like other countries and having doomsday bunkers? I've been noticing that more and more, man. It's making me ask some questions. That's weird. On that list, bro, we saw Oprah Winfrey too, having, I guess, owning some island on Hawaii. I don't know what's about to go down, but it ain't looking good.
telling y'all that Thailand is different, by definition, this is the type shit I was talking about. They just had an elephant hit a lick on a corner store. Yup, the usual suspect. Coming to Thailand, you gonna think that you in a real life movie of Jumanji. You got rhinoceros and elephants crip walking down the street. And also committing crimes like robbery of convenience stores. And to the people that's been in Thailand for a minute, this is just another day in Thailand. You got elephant burglars. You even got elephants that play the harmonica. And before y'all come, gang, just expect the unexpected, bro. One minute you petting tigers, the next minute you in the middle of a ping pong shootout. But never in all my days of living would I have expected an elephant commit a robbery to a convenience store. Once again, expect the unexpected. But if y'all want to learn how y'all can come and experience Thailand while you get paid from your content, so you can record elephants commit robberies while you getting paid, comment down below, Hub, and I'm gonna send you the resources that you need to get started.
I don't know if you heard the story about the 30-year-old baby. So it's supposed to be the world's oldest baby.
No pun intended, but he's very chill.
Yeah. Because it was like released in like the 90s, but they froze the embryo. And then after the 30 years, they put it back.
Oh my god, so they actually birthed it?
They birthed it. The mother that came out with it is literally the same age as this baby is supposed to be.
Baby Thaddeus has been earthside for less than 2 weeks, but his story begins long before his birth.
So this baby is actually supposed to be 30, but birth, it froze.
Birth, it's just 1 year old.
There's 1 year old.
That's insane.
And then I think they're gonna meet soon. Like the mom gave the embryo away, and they put it in another lady that wanted.
That's how long they can hold on to eggs.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Thaddeus has a sister who's 30 years old, and he's already an uncle because she has a daughter. I like to think he was put on reserve while we were just little people ourselves.
This is what you could end up looking like if you eat some of the raw, frozen shrimp being sent to the United States by other countries. Now, let me tell you what I'm talking about. In late August, the FDA found that raw frozen shrimp from Indonesia was being sold in Walmart under the Walmart label called the Great Value label.
Mistake right there.
If you eat it, how could you end up looking like the alien in the Alien? Because the shrimp was radioactive. I kid you not.
After Drewski just did a skit in whiteface, a lot of people are somehow mad at this, and even more worse are now Drewski has issued a response because the people that are angry over this need to go touch grass. So last night, Drewski posted this hilarious skit where Drewski goes full white face and body, all the way down to the USA flag tattoos, tribal tattoos. I couldn't even tell that this was Drewski the first time I watched this video because the sunburn is more betterer than anything I've ever seen. But now even more worser, people are now mad at Drewski for doing this, saying that not only in the video does he do whiteface, but that in the video he puts RASIST, jokes in the video not only once but twice, and this is where it gets even more insaner. Most of the people that are angry don't realize that Drewski does this all the time, and that truly no culture is safe, and he has even done whiteface before, and to a lot of people it didn't seem to be an issue when it was a white boy who was accepted by the hood, but now that it's a white guy in a traditionally white space, certain people have an issue with this. And if you couldn't tell, I'm a white person and I think his whiteface skits are hilarious. And now Drewski has responded, and it seems that Theo Von might be doing a reverse whiteface with Drewski next. Should Drewski really be canceled for this?
I didn't even know that was Drewski when I saw that trending. And I heard that the makeup artist was actually like a movie makeup artist, I heard. I forgot what movie she worked on, but she worked on another good movie, so that's why their facts look so real. You could even tell. Okay, we see this ghost walking, bro. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a camera after effect or something. You definitely see something moving.
How many people played this game Simon when they was children? I have another question. How many people played Simon Says when they was younger? The real question is, who the fuck is Simon? Before I get into the origins of Simon, I want people to remember something. They always get us when we are young. When we are children, our pineal gland is so activated, but if they give us shit like this, it deactivated. Simon Says is a classic game for children where a person, Simon, gives instructions. The other players must follow every direction. You must follow every direction. This was not a game for children. This was a game to keep your chakras locked. But the real question is, who is Simon? Simon Magnus was a dark magician back in biblical days. Simon Magnus was a dark magician. He will trick you and make you do things that he wanted you to do. And the people that he tricked, they had no idea that they was really under hypnosis. This was not a game for children. It's the reason why they use these colors when it comes to children. When they put children in school, their kindergarten colors is the chakras. But this video is about to get much darker and much deeper. Stay with me. This is the goddess Circe. She was also a magician. But she had some kind of weird power because she knew how to turn people into animals. Not just any animals, but pigs. Yes, when you see pigs, they are really humans, and she made them that way. That's why they always say never eat the pig, because the pig is really a human. Circe is the church, and the church is the circus. Remember they said back in Rome, if you give them bread and wine, they will never ask questions? It's the circus, not a game. Your chakras. You in prison because you never unlocked your chakras. They control all of your spiritual traffic because you don't understand the signs. You can't get to the pot of gold because they stole our energy. We can't manifest. They stole our energy. For more info, check out the ebook.
So I've been showing you guys how the sky has been looking real different as of lately, y'all, particularly the clouds. They've been looking a lot bigger, a lot puffier, right? And sometimes looking like straight up cities in the sky. Well, take a look at this over here in Gulfport, Mississippi. Y'all see that? It's literally a pyramid in the sky. And look, it's alive, y'all. This one is very different from the one that we're used to seeing in the form of appearance, because this one looks more etheric. Look, it looks more, it's electromagnetic charge, right?
Yeah.
Like it's bouncing off the light. Y'all see that? You can literally see the aura of the pyramid. It's vibrating on a higher frequency, but the energy field, you can see that it's cloaked in light. And look at the plasma, the lightning that's moving all around. Yo, and all of these animes have been telling us about the cities in the sky. Check this out from Naruto. This is from the episode The Land of the Sky. Do you guys see that over here? Hold on, let me zoom in. Do y'all see these statues? Look at that. Is that the Olmecs? Look at that. Look at that, y'all. Isn't that the Olmecs? Isn't that me? Let me close my eyes. Hold on. Isn't that me, y'all? Look at that. Look at this. They've been telling us about this. And don't you find it strange of how these buildings resemble pyramid shape? Y'all see that, man? These animes, they be telling us, man. Animes like Castle in the Sky. Animes like Dragon Ball Z, where they show Korin's Tower on top of Earth, and then on top of Korin's Tower you have Kami's Lookout, where human beings can't really go. Animes like One Piece, where they show Sky.
Let's look at the photo. You say that's me? Okay, check out the name badge. It says Aldrin. Looks like you're right, but notice the helmet. Can you see my face? No. This is a secret I've been keeping for almost half a century. July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and I pulled off humanity's first extraterrestrial prank.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest? It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know.
What is it?
Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And
you know, I feel like if you went to the moon, this massive accomplishment for humanity, you'd be so proud of it. You'd own it, right? Like, yes, fuck yeah, that was me. I went to the moon. We did it. But you can just tell that he feels so bad now for the lie that they, perpetrated, for the deception that they purported. And he can't lie to this little girl because he has a heart. I get it. Don't you guys find it interesting that we haven't gone back to the moon since 1969? I wonder why.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
We destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. This is the technology that he's talking about. This is the painful process that is so difficult to build back again. What you're looking at right here, this absolute spectacle, this masterpiece just covered in tinfoil. Now, I know this is extremely difficult for a lot of people, but let's just use our common sense here. We went to the moon back when they didn't even have cell phones. Look at how far technology has advanced since then.
Yeah.
You're telling me $1 billion organization destroyed the technology for one of the greatest achievements in human history, apparently, and they can't build it back. Even though they had it in 1969, they can't build it back in 2025. Do you actually buy that? NASA is an anagram for Satan. That's why they say T minus, because it's minus the T. NASA in Hebrew, Nasha, also means to deceive. They're lying to you. They're stealing your tax money.
Born on the literal perfect day. Back in 2019, a baby girl was born on July 11th, making the date 7/11. Well, the baby was also born at 7:11 p.m. and the baby also weighed 7 pounds and 11 ounces. From this, the convenience store 7-Eleven saw this and gave the baby $7,111, making this baby the most 7-Eleven baby in history. Next, in 2022, this baby girl was born at one of the craziest times possible because she was born on February 22nd, 2022, which is 2/22/2022. But she was also born at 2:22 a.m. and she weighed 7 pounds and 10 ounces, which makes her a total 122 total ounces. And I can't forget that she was born in room number 2 of the hospital. This is absolutely wild.
We have some crazy things going on in the world right now. A bride was late to her own wedding after an officer pulled her over for going 105 in a 45. A bus driver with over 30 years on the job lost his $84,000 pension after he was caught stealing $7. Thanks to appearances in music videos and commercials, technically Taylor Swift's cat Olivia has a higher net worth than her boyfriend Travis Kelce. An Air India crew member downgraded a passenger from first class and then used that seat to sleep. A 19-year-old man was sent to prison for 8 months after making a bomb threat to a cruise that his girlfriend was on because he admitted he was annoyed that he had to take care of her pets. Meteorologists could not use damage to determine the strength of a recent tornado that went through Michigan because the Amish communities that this tornado mostly affected repaired their homes too quickly. After a man saved for 10 years to buy his dream Ferrari, it went up in flames less than an hour after it was delivered.
This is a bittersweet.
Nah, just imagine that, man. You saving up, you stocking up. Everything, every freaking penny, dime, nickel, man, to get that Ferrari, you working class, and for it to end up in flames after you get it, I'm like, man, the universe hates me. I guess that was a sign, man.
Sweet case. On February 1986, 29-year-old detective Stephanie Lazarus broke into her ex-boyfriend's house and murdered his wife Sherry Rasmussen in a fit of rage and jealousy. Stephanie successfully got away with murder for 23 years due to connections with the Los Angeles Police Department. Despite there being evidence against her, she was barely questioned. The crime was initially deemed to be a robbery gone wrong, but Sherry's family was convinced that Stephanie was involved since she was jealous that Sherry and John were happily married. When John returned home from work that evening, Sherry was found shot multiple times in the chest. Reports show that Stephanie had threatened Sherry at her workplace, stating, "If I can't have John, then nobody else will." In the meantime, Stephanie went on to start her own private investigation firm, and the case went cold. But 23 years later, on February 2009, a cold case detective squad decided to reinvestigate the case, and that's when they discovered that DNA was obtained from a bite mark on Sherry's body. And of course, that bite mark was a perfect match to Stephanie Lazarus. On March 8, 2012, Stephanie was convicted and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison and will be eligible for parole in 2039.
2025 just got even crazier, part 4. Firstly, in Poland, 240 mines were accidentally sent to an IKEA, and apparently the mishap only came to light when the IKEA store called the military to ask when they were going to pick up these mines from their IKEA warehouse. From this, an army general was fired for losing these mines. Next, we all know about this TikTok ban that is happening. Well, it's kind of backfiring, because thousands and thousands of TikTok users are switching to the Chinese app RedNote, and from this, Duolingo has seen a 216% spike in users in the US learning Mandarin. Finally, stealing has got so bad in some areas, some stores are starting to literally lock up everything, like regular items like chips. So now, you literally have to get an employee just to get a chip bag.
That's so sad, man. But I still remember that channel. Remember when people were like licking the ice cream?
These maps are going to change the way you see the world. This is how much income you're gonna need to join the top 1% in every US state. California makes it easy. It's just 1 million solid. Yeah, easy. So it looks like the highest is actually in Connecticut with 1.2 million. That's fascinating, actually. The lowest is in West Virginia. You only need $420,000 a year to be in the top 1%. Yeah, I know I say only, it's a lot of money, but also relatively, it's cool. But yeah, we're all doomed, so it doesn't matter. This is just a map of the Midwest. Yeah, it's definitely in the West and in the middle because it's the Midwest. This was the first transcontinental railroad that was completed in 1869. You now could cross the country within a week instead of multiple months. That was dangerous. Interesting that there was an Oregon Trail and a California Trail. So this map shows that the entire area of Manhattan is smaller than the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. This map divides the world into 4 equal quadrants and shows that the Northeast has almost 3 out of 4 people on Earth. It says 13% in the Northwest, but only 5% of that is in the United States, which is the same as the 5% in the Southwest. 86% of all humans live in the top side of this quadrant.
Let's see if you have trypophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have trypophobia. So let's go. Number 1. And how about this?
I'm cool.
Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. So let me know whether or not you have trypophobia in the comments down below.
I passed that with flying colors, man.
He performed plastic surgery on himself after murdering his teacher. In 2006, 22-year-old British teacher Lindsay Hawker moved to Tokyo to teach English at Chiba University. A year later, 28-year-old student Tetsuya Ichihashi asked Lindsay if he could receive private lessons from her. Lindsay agreed, and they met at a coffee shop a few days later for their first session. At the end of the session, Tetsuya told Lindsay he forgot his money at home and asked her to go back to his place to pick it up and pay her. So that's exactly what they did, and unfortunately, Lindsay never made it out of Tetsuya's apartment. Lindsay was reported missing the next day, so police went to Tetsuya's apartment and saw him escape by foot. When police entered Tetsuya's balcony, they found Lindsay's deceased body in a bath full of sand. Tetsuya then went into hiding for 2 years and a half, and he went to extreme measures to avoid authorities, such as physically changing his appearance himself. This included cutting off the moles from his face with a knife, trimming his lips to make them thinner, and reshaping his nose. All these changes allowed Tetsuya to be undetected for years, but his attempt to alter his appearance even more led to his arrest when a cosmetic doctor became suspicious about his scars and reported him to police. At Tetsuya's trial, he confessed to everything and was sentenced to life in prison.
This is the scary story about the park. There was a girl named Anna who was walking around a park one day when she saw a man carrying a woman, and he also had a kid right next to him. Anna thought it was odd that a man was carrying a full-grown woman around the park, so she went up to him and asked if everything was okay. The man said that it was his wife, and that she was sick and tired, but she was fine. Anna then said, "I hope she feels better," and then walked away. Anna then sat down on a bench nearby, and a couple minutes later, the man's child came running over to her and said, "Mommy's dead. Daddy killed Mommy. He's been carrying her dead body around the park all day." Anna sat there in shock as the man came over and got his kid, with his dead wife still slung over his shoulders.
Okay, that's weird. Call the cops then, man. The kid letting you
And the
know.
bodies of 9-year-old Peyton Decker, 8-year-old Evelyn Decker, and 5-year-old Olivia Decker were found deceased near Washington campground after they were reported missing by their mom. The girls left home for a planned visitation with their father on May 30th. Their bodies were found on June 2nd. Their cause of death has been ruled a suffocation. The manner of death has been ruled a homicide. Their father, 32-year-old Travis Decker, is a primary suspect, and he is currently on the run as we speak. On Friday, May 30th, the girl's mother called for help around 9:45 p.m. She said her girls were at their planned visit with their father, but he failed to return the girls on time, and she got worried and she needed help. The case is ongoing. There's a manhunt currently out for Travis Decker, the father. I'm not a lawyer. No one has been arrested yet. All this information is information that I found on the internet, and if I get anything wrong, please comment in the comments and we can figure it out together. Also, please keep in mind, please, this is a real case. People are mourning the deaths of these poor girls and they're hurt, so if you don't have anything nice to say, do not say anything at all. We know from the mother.
Breaking news, when Brian Koberger was arrested, he asked one of the arresting officers if he wanted to go get coffee at another time. In these documents, Ann Taylor is trying to prove that Brian Koberger does not have the ability to understand the magnitude of what he did. As an example of that, she states the following. She said, by way of example, when he was arrested at home with a full SWAT team, doors broken, and parents were zip-tied, he made small talk with the detective in the back of the police car on the ride to the police station. He asked the officer about his education and suggested that they get coffee at a later date. She said he did not perceive the profound seriousness of what was going on, and he did not have perception of what was happening. She said they now have experts to analyze his issues. In addition, here is an up-close image of the drawing that Dylan provided of the mask she saw Brian Koberger wearing the night she ran into him in the home. Furthermore, the April 9th hearing has been changed. You will no longer be able to locate...
This is the most terrifying space photo ever. This is a real photo of astronaut Bruce McCandless. He is floating around 100 meters away from the space shuttle, and he's not wearing any tether connection or harness, meaning he could easily float away into the abyss of space. But why did he do such a dangerous thing? Well, in 1984, he was testing a space jetpack. So he stepped out of the Challenger space shuttle, and using the jetpack, flew away from the shuttle, flying alone into the dark abyss of space. Bruce was later asked about his experience. He said, "The thing that disturbed me most was, as I floated away from the shuttle, I felt extremely cold." He also said the silence of being alone was very scary. In this photo, he literally is the loneliest person in the universe.
That's different, man. Space jetpack, like I said, one wrong mistake, you floating out in space. The deep, dark abyss of space for the rest of your life. You have to be a brave person, man, to take on that job. I don't know if I can know. I know I can do that. That ain't me.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. God.
Okay, so that's just a puppet, but you know it's not? Meet the Tibetan fox, the fox nature designed strictly from memory. The Lord makes no mistakes, but sometimes he uses his left hand. That's how you get a fox straight out of Courage the Cowardly Dog. We're not entirely sure why it looks like amateur taxidermy, but some say it's a character development that comes with living on the very roof of the world. Apparently that's the peak physique when your address is up to 5,000 meters or 16,000 feet up in the air. The highest point in the US, not in Alaska, is just under 15,000. The result is an AI generated pika predator. Pika basically being the popcorn chicken of rabbits, and the main thing on this Temu Fox's grocery list. Sometimes this uncanny valley Volpes goes on a two-man with bears, where the bears dig the prey up and the funny-in-the-face fox runs them down. All while having the expression of immigrant parents to a firstborn, terminally disappointed and remarkably unimpressed. I still love you, Mom. Except when they're about to murk a marmot. That's enough to make him hit the Heisman. And despite the free-handed by Faith Fox proving that 5-year-old me can draw, they actually look pretty normal as pups. And the way you see them might change when you see how little they are next to us. Because when you live in God's snowed-in Tibetan attic with the windows open, it's best to be small. In fact, the best theory is that protection from the constant wind is why they look like that. Something about preserving moisture in the eyes. But it also means you can get side-eyed looking dead in this fur emoji's face, the more you know.
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Yeah.
Why? Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman, and you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, and La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my God.
There's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el velador. No digas perras mamadas, no digas mamadas. Güey, es que era el vestido también así, güey. ¿Verdad? Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right, we might have to risk it.
This 14-foot tiger shark would vomit up something that would terrify visitors and force shocked aquarium owners to call the police. Bert Hobson was in trouble. As the owner of the Coogee Aquarium in Sydney, his business was struggling. His prayers were answered when he caught a monster 14-foot tiger shark weighing over a ton. Hopefully this would draw in the crowds. One sunny morning, the aquarium packed with visitors, the shark began to writhe and convulse. Eventually it vomited a rat, then a bird, then finally a whole human arm, complete with tattoos. Police attended and took fingerprints from the dismembered arm. The database matched them to a missing person, Jimmy Smith. Police interviewed one of Jimmy's friends. He cracked and revealed the full gruesome story of exactly what happened. Jimmy was involved in an insurance scam. He became greedy and tried to blackmail one of the other gang members before he went missing. The rest of his body was never found.
So they just fed it to the tiger shark?
Tonight's premiere starts at 9. We're giving away a free gift bag on YouTube. I'm sorry for the delay. It's about an hour late, but this video is one you don't want to miss. We're hunting the spirit of one of the most notorious criminals in American history, cult leader Jim Jones. Yes, we actually spent the night at his childhood church investigating this property, and it's rumored to be a location haunted by demonic entities. The energy that we captured on camera inside of the building, the evidence, is astounding stuff. It's some of the clearest, most definitive, most disturbing paranormal activity that I've ever caught on camera. But the video premiere starts tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, so I will see all of you guys there. Make sure you leave a comment, like the video, and if you want to be entered to win the gift bag this week, comment Jim Jones on the video and like the video. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in a few hours, and yeah, this is not one you want to miss.
Should I check that out, man? The Paranormal Files, he be hunting at paranormal activities, so.
One of my biggest fears is finding something like this on my camera roll.
The photo actually comes from Kelsey Surt back in 2013. She was a 17-year-old at the time, and she was browsing her camera roll when she found something that she didn't recognize. And that was this photo. It was a picture that she didn't take, but she could tell from the background that this was taken in her room. Police would review the info card on this photo where they see that it was taken at 1:39 p.m. That didn't make sense because Kelsey knew that for this date and this time she had her phone on her at school, which meant that whoever did take this photo of themselves, they also had the foresight to go in and change the date and the time that it was taken to throw off the investigation. Police also go in to try to brighten up the photo, right, digitally enhance it, but even with this version they cannot successfully identify who this is. Are they wearing a mask? Is that a person? But whoever took the photo and why just remains an unknown.
Scariest urban legend from each state, part 4. Robert the doll from Florida. A young boy named Eugene was gifted this doll as a birthday present. Eugene had Robert sleep next to him every single night, until a random night where Eugene woke up and saw Robert sitting across the room from him. After that night, things changed. They noticed every night that they heard footsteps in the attic, and something running up and down the stairs. He was inhabited by some demonic spirit, even having the neighbors say that they saw Robert looking through the window of the attic every single night. Robert is currently in an extremely safe spirit box in the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. It's stated if you make eye contact,
was kidnapped and sacrificed by a cult that believed human sacrifice would protect their drug smuggling business. This is Mark Kilroy. He was a 21-year-old UT Austin student. Him and many other classmates were vacationing in South Padre. They found him and 14 other remains of other people. This cult was absolutely sick in the head. He was sodomized and tortured before they murdered him. He was then killed with a machete blow to the head. His brain was taken out and then boiled in a pot. After police discovered the remains, they arrested 4 cult members and hunted down the leader. The leader literally informed everyone that human sacrifice would protect their drug smuggling business, like I said, and it granted them immunity from law enforcement. I'm not sure where he got that from. When police had Costanzo cornered, he ordered a follower to shoot him. Like I said, most of the cult members were arrested, only 2 escaped and are still at large today. The media immediately labeled these people as Satanists. Although they didn't practice Satanism, it was something else. They also engaged in cannibalism with their victims. It was insane. Imagine being on spring break, getting kidnapped, tortured, and sacrificed by a cult and having your brain boiled in a pot. Not that you would be conscious or alive to know what's going on, but that is one of the most horrific ways to go out. What are your opinions on the story? Let me know.
Truly is, man. It shows, man, when people get that type of manipulation, they'll believe anything. You really told them they had immunity
His
from the
attacker
police.
used his head as a soccer ball. 15-year-old Michael Moss lived in Liverpool, had a happy childhood, and had an interest in mechanics. His mother stated that he wasn't very academic, but he could take a bike apart and put it back together, and he really loved motorbikes. When Michael was only 11 years old, his father passed away and his whole world was turned upside down. He was deeply affected by his father's death, and quickly at school, his behavior became disruptive and he was excluded. Because of that, Michael started attending a pupil referral unit that helped children with special educational needs before he was sent to a children's home to give his mother a break. It was there in 1999 when Michael would meet his future killers, his bullies, Alan, Mark, and Graham. Michael tried to keep a distance from these boys, but when he started dating Alan's ex-girlfriend, things would take a turn. Alan was not happy about this, and he would do anything to get revenge. Those 3 boys got together, drank alcohol, and watched Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and got a plan into action. At 1 in the morning, Michael got a phone call from those 3 boys that they had a motorbike and they wanted him to look at it, and since he had a love for motorbikes, he was not going to say no, so unfortunately, he fatally took the bait. Michael had left the children's home where he was staying at and arrived at Moss Lane Park, and this is when he was ambushed. The 3 boys laid Michael on the floor and they each took turns kicking his head like a soccer ball. Michael's injuries were so severe that he was just unrecognizable. Michael did pass away from his injuries, and once his mother found out what had happened to him, she was heartbroken. As the investigation started, there was already evidence against the 3 boys, and Graham had actually turned himself in after he had told his mother what he had did as well as the other boys. July 26 of 2000, the 3 boys were found guilty. Alan and Mark were sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Graham was sentenced to 9 years.
If you hate clowns, this movie is really gonna get you. I just got out of seeing Clown in a Cornfield, and man, this movie was so much fun. Now, I've also read the book written by Adam Cesar, and I'm here to tell you it is an excellent and faithful adaptation of the novel. Quinn has just moved to Kettle Springs, and it's very obvious from the beginning something is not right. With an already growing major divide between the adults and the youths of the town Kettle Springs, you'd think that'd be bad enough, but now there is a clown in a cornfield. And y'all really don't want to fuck with Friendo. This was such a fun slasher movie, which was perfect because the book felt exactly the same tonal-wise, and it harkens back to the good old slashers of the 80s and 90s. And a major reason for that is Friendo himself. This clown is iconic, he's awesome looking, and terrifying as hell. And the best part is, it's palatably scary for most audiences going to see it. Take your friends and family and just have a good time watching a killer clown run through a cornfield hacking up the teenagers. It's got its own unique twists and turns, and I absolutely love Friendo's just fit and vibe. Also, I need one of these Jack in the Boxes, or Friendo in a Boxes. I need it. Clown in a Cornfield opens this weekend in theaters, and please do not miss this excellent slasher that is fun for frickin' everybody.
This disturbing image may not look real, but it very much is. This is a picture of Rhoda Derry, and I'm going to tell you her sad and tragic story. Rhoda Derry was born on October 10, 1834 in Adams County, Illinois. She lived a pretty normal life in a well-to-do farming family. Like any other teenage girl, when she was 16, she fell in love and began a romantic relationship with a boy who happened to live on the farm next door. The boy's parents weren't fond of their relationship, and it really went south when they found out their plans to marry a couple years later. They believed that Rhoda may be involved in witchcraft, a tale that dated back to her grandmother, Mary Derry of Pennsylvania. The stories surrounding her grandmother frightened Rhoda, and matters were only made worse when the boy's mother came to her and told her to stay away, and if not, she would curse her. This is when things went south for Rhoda. She had a severe mental breakdown and eventually grew to believe that an evil spirit called Old Scratch was haunting her. She was hospitalized but was deemed incurable, so she was returned back home to her parents. Her parents tried to care for her, but it became too much, so she was sent to Adams County Almshouse when she was 25 years old on September 3, 1860. The almshouse was known for treating patients inhumanely, and for 4 decades Rhoda was subjected to horrific conditions. A report from the General Assembly in 1881 indicated that Rhoda spent most of her time naked inside of a wooden box filled with straw. Her excrement filled the box and mice built nests around her. Rhoda sat in the box in a crouched position with her knees up to her chin. Because she sat in this position for so long, she eventually lost movement in her legs. She was constantly moving as well, so she had bruises all over her body. She even punched her face and knocked out her teeth, as well as gouged out her eyes. To make matters even worse, Rhoda could not speak. In 1904, she was sent to Bartonville Asylum. She was bathed daily and slept in a bed for the first time in decades. On October 9, 1906, the day before her 72nd birthday, she passed away. Rest in peace, Rhoda Derry.
And a haunting, it really messed with her.
This new UK ban is gonna ruin a lot of kids' lives. Sorry guys, if you're still in school or your kids are still in school, then I feel bad for you. Probably know there's been the whole talk about social media bans and stuff for years. Of course, Australia started implementing it last year. More recently, there's been a lot of these petitions popping up in the UK saying social media should be banned under 16, and it's got a lot of signatures. Now it's being called for a bit more officially though, with the government looking into it, police chiefs, and well, here's the latest. It looks like very soon there are going to be time limits and bans coming into place, so yeah kids, I'm sorry. First of all, kids who are under 16, they're not going to be banning it completely, but there are going to be time limits. So you're only going to be allowed to use 2 hours on social media every single day, and after 10 PM at night you won't be able to go on any of it whatsoever. As people have been saying, this raises a lot of concerns because, well, some kids use things like WhatsApp to communicate with family and that, which counts as social media. Of course, there's also a lot of people who think this is a very good thing and kids need to have less time on their phone and social media. I'm also not sure how they're going to get around certain things though to make this fully official, because everybody would just use a VPN or pretend they're a different age. But let me know your thoughts if this is a good or a bad thing, and as always I'll keep you updated.
What do you guys think on that one, Seekers? Good thing we're going to be limited the kids' social media time? Or you think that's an invasion of privacy? They're going a step too far. You gotta protect the kids out here though, so they're just doing anything they can.
Disturbing discovery tonight where investigators say a remote cave contains what may be the largest collection of crime scene evidence in state history.
Illinois' darkest secret just crawled out of the shadows. A cave packed with over 3,000 blood-soaked shoes, apparently spanning 300 years of disappearances.
We're seeing blood patterns consistent with violent trauma. The preservation conditions in the cave have kept some samples remarkably intact.
And the nightmare's just beginning. What began as a hiker's social media post has become a massive forensic investigation. On June 12th, a local college student exploring off-trail discovered the cave containing footwear ranging from 18th century moccasins to modern athletic shoes, nearly all with traces of blood.
The amount of shoes inside that cave is still unknown, but what I find most strange is why haven't we found these bloody shoes until now?
Forensic analysis has already matched DNA from several shoes to missing persons cases. The oldest confirmed match dates to 1792, a frontiersman who disappeared while surveying the area.
This isn't just a crime scene, Tide. It's a timeline of disappearances stretching from pioneer days to the digital age. The consistency is what's truly terrifying.
Hollow Vale Cave has become more than just a crime scene. It's a time capsule of tragedy, holding secrets from America's frontier past to the digital age. For investigators, the work is just beginning. For families of the missing, this discovery could mean answers centuries in the making. As hashtag Bloody Shoes continues to trend, let us know what you think in the comments below.
This is a true horrifying story.
Scary
Part
story.
82. This story took place in Cardiff, the capital of Wales. The story happened to a Muslim brother. It happened this month. And I urge everyone watching this to keep this brother in your prayers and your du'as. He also requested that we don't use his real name. So I'll give him a false name for the sake of this story and call him Ahmed. Ahmed is 20 years old. He is a second-year college student and he works part-time as a delivery driver. He had an order to deliver in an area called Pentrabane. It's an old village with nothing on the way there, just bushes and trees right and left. Now, Ahmed has bladder issues. Ever since he was young, every time he needed to use the toilet, he wasn't able to hold it for too long. On his way to Pentrabane, he had to use the toilet urgently, and there was nothing on the way there, so he stopped his vehicle, went inside the bushes, and peed on one of the bushes. After he was done, he hopped back on his vehicle and proceeded towards the delivery point. On that same night, Ahmed went to bed, and while he was sleeping, he was awakened by a feeling of someone suffocating him. He was paralyzed, but his eyes were wide open. He saw a dark, slender-like figure that wrapped his hands around Ahmed's neck. He would get attacked every single night by this demon. He would also dream of the same demon haunting his little siblings. This demon was very upset with Ahmed. Some of you may not know why this is happening. Jinns come in various forms, powers, types, and sizes. Some live in caves, some in the ocean, and some in bushes. When you sabotage their homes, they will do everything they can to hurt you. When you burn a bush or spill hot water on a bush or even pee in a bush, they will try to kill you. I will leave this to our brother Mu'min Abu Mecca to teach you what you must do to prevent being stuck in a situation like this.
So don't pee on bushes. Noted, okay. I think we've all done that. You saying it once in my life now.
The trial ended with 2 deadlock juries, causing the boys to be retried, but during the second trial, the judge didn't allow the boys to use the sexual abuse as a defense. Both brothers were convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, with both of them receiving life sentences and no possibility of parole. They then didn't see one another for 22 years. Until 2018, they were housed in the same unit, and when they met, they embraced and burst into tears. The child psychologist that works with the brothers claims that the boys are innocent and their father was in fact a monster. A cousin of the boys also states that he remembers Lyle telling him during his childhood that his father was doing things to him that no parent should ever do. Others believe, however, that the boys are simply using any excuse they can, given that they are actually held accountable for their crimes. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide the innocence of...
In 2018, a 51-year-old woman drove her car onto a Little League field. Attempting to stop the woman and keep the children safe, 68-year-old Douglas Parkhurst jumps in front of the car and tries to close the gate. He succeeded keeping everyone safe, but sadly died from his injuries on the way to the hospital. Carol Sharrow is arrested, and the story should end there. but it doesn't. On Halloween night in 1968, 4-year-old Carol Lee Ashby was trick-or-treating with her older sister. Tragically, 4-year-old Carol Lee was hit and killed by a drunk driver, and the case remained cold for 45 years, until 2013 when Douglas Parkhurst confessed to being her killer. After 45 years, the statute of limitations had run out, and Douglas faced no punishment. When interviewed in 2018, Carol Lee's older sister Darlene said, "It's like a complete circle now. He went out the same way he took my sister out."
Terrible crimes that were solved by pure coincidence. On April 28, 1997, Zephany Nurse was born, and she was placed in a nearby crib while her mother Celeste slept, but when Celeste awoke, her daughter was missing. Police searched the hospital, but nothing of note was found. In fact, no progress was made in the case for nearly 2 decades. However, when Celeste's next oldest daughter Cassidy started classes at a new school in 2014, she met Mache Solomon. The girls quickly struck up a close friendship, and many people commented on the resemblance to one another. So much so that when Cassidy introduced Mache to her mom Celeste, she instantly contacted the police. When Mache's alleged parents couldn't provide proof of her birth, a DNA test was conducted and it was confirmed that Mache was actually Zephany Nurse, Celeste's missing daughter. The kidnapper LaVonna Solomon was later convicted in the abduction case and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
You know how the things have to line up for you to go to school, I guess with your mom or sister? That's just the universe at play right there, man. Unfolding in front of our eyes.
This case's twist will shock you. On the evening of 2014, Sarah Sands had downed 2 bottles of wine, put on a hoodie, and left her apartment carrying a knife. She then walked to a 77-year-old man's house named Michael Plested and took his life. She then walked back to her house and gave herself up to the police. But why did she do it? Turns out that man's name wasn't Michael Plested. He had legally changed it through a secret loophole in the law, which allows you to do so when applying for a new passport, because he was actually on the SO list for messing with children. And it turns out he had lured her 3 sons into his apartment, 12-year-old Bradley and the 11-year-old twins Alfie and Reese, and essayed them. In court, Sarah claimed that she will never be able to take the nightmares that happen to her boys away from them when they're screaming at night. She got 7.5 years, and now that she's out, she fights the law, campaigning to stop other offenders from changing their name through that same loophole. Did you see the secret question I hid in this video?
A family in New Zealand found human remains inside of a storage locker they won through an auction. It's typical for storage units to be put up for auction if they have been unclaimed and unused for many, many, many years. This New Zealand family won a specific storage locker and they were emptying it out, found some suitcases. Upon realizing that the suitcases smelled terrible, they opened them up and found decomposing bodies. These bodies were later identified to be 2 children, one 5 years old and the other about 10 years old. While we don't know how long they were in the storage locker, it does seem like they had been there for a good amount of time. The only lead right now is police think that the children's mother is living in South Korea and she arrived there in 2018. Other than that, we don't really know much about this case yet.
Remember when Terrifier 2 made people pass out and throw up in theaters? Well, get ready because Terrifier 3 was just officially confirmed and it's going to be even bloodier. I have no idea how they're going to top the bedroom scene, but I'm excited to find out. Allegedly, the actors for Art the Clown and Sienna are both returning, so I feel like this means Terrifier 3 will be continuing the story from right after Terrifier 2. One of the producers said they'll have a bigger budget intended on giving filmmakers more creative freedom and let them be as wild as they can be. And all jokes aside, we're going for that Oscar this year. Can you imagine if Terrifier 3 wins an Oscar? I'll be updating you guys with anything I find out, so follow for more.
You know that ain't happening. that case had some twists and turns I was not expecting. Well, any of the secrets, were you guys expecting that?
Who was killed by her childhood best friend in 2016. At the time of her death, Sarah was living with her dad in Neptune City, New Jersey, and studying arts and media at their local community college. As many of her friends knew, she'd recently received a lot of money following her mom's passing. It was the middle of the night on December 2nd when Sarah's car was found abandoned on a nearby bridge with the engine still running. Dive team searched the water thinking that she may have jumped, but ultimately they came up with nothing. Sarah's case was investigated as a missing persons investigation until January of 2017, when another student came forward and pointed authorities in the direction of her junior year prom date, 19-year-old Liam McAtanzy. The two had been friends for over 10 years. On January 31st, police set the student up with microphones and cameras and had him meet Liam in a local parking lot. There, he confessed to everything, explaining that he and his best friend Preston spent 6 months planning Sarah's murder. Yes, this is a photo of Sarah, Liam, and Preston together at their high school prom. The plan was for Liam to go to Sarah's house, get her drunk, and then take her for everything her mom had left her. On December 1st, he did exactly this and strangled Sarah for 30 minutes before hiding her body in the bushes outside of her house. Later that night, he came back with Preston, and the two drove her and her vehicle to the nearby bridge. There, they threw her off and then staged the scene to make. Liam and Preston thought Sarah had nearly $100,000, but they only walked away with $8,000. Liam has since been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and Preston to 18 years. Sarah's body has never been found, as it likely drifted off to sea within 24 hours.
The Florida Man, a national treasure of sorts, both a nightmare and a cause of intrigue for millions. Florida Man in facing attack believes he was half man, half dog. Florida Man arrested for throwing a gator into a Wendy's. Florida Man destroys nest full of wasps with his bare hands. Now, who is the Florida Man? I mean, you and I both know that it's multiple people doing insane things in the real-life GTA server that is Florida, but the legend still remains. One man doing things none of us could fathom. The Florida Man. It's become a fun game for people to look up the phrase Florida Man followed by their birthday to see what crazy things the Florida Man did that day. For me, I was born January 14th, and what comes up is kill him with kindness. Florida Man kills someone with a machete named Kindness. You never know what you could find. What is going on down there in Florida? And how has it gone on for this long? All the answers we may never have. But all of that is part of the mystery of
the Florida Man.
This daycare worker is why many Americans choose to not send their kids to daycare. Hi, my name is Ethan, and trigger warning, this is a dark case. In June of 2018, a 1-year-old in Jessica Cherry's care allegedly fell from a chair, hit her head, and suffered extensive bruising and skull fracture. Fast forward 2 years later, another 2-year-old was found deceased in Jessica's playpen in her home. Jessica immediately called 911, and the 2-year-old was transported to Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters and was pronounced deceased. The pathologist who performed the autopsy on the 2-year-old later declared that she was potentially smothered, and that is how she passed away. They also saw that the child had blunt force injuries as well. Jessica was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in August of 2022, and on March 17th of this year, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Just 10? That sounds wrong.
A family in New Zealand found human remains inside of a storage locker they won through an auction. It's typical for storage units to be put up for auction if they have been unclaimed and unused for many, many, many years. This New Zealand family won a specific storage locker, and they were emptying it out, found some suitcases. Upon realizing that the suitcases smelled terrible, they opened them up and found decomposing bodies. These bodies were later identified to be 2 children, one 5 years old and the other about 10 years old. While we don't know how long they were in the storage locker, it does seem like they had been there for a good amount of time. The only lead right now is police think that the children's mother is living in South Korea, and she arrived there in 2018. Other than that, we don't really know much about this case yet.
Down for whatever. In the back of his mind is Coretta, and she knows.
So worried that she missed this one that she literally called the police to the house because she thought something was wrong. Her friend's name was Nicole, by the way, and she is a huge reason why this case even got solved. So Nicole's at the house talking to the police, and she explained how her car was still in the garage, the shoes that she wears every day were still there, and just as she was talking to them, Chris pulled up to his house. Now Chris ran up and looked extremely worried at the time, and then shook the police officer's hands and then went straight inside without making any eye contact with Nicole. Something real suspicious was going on. So anyway, the police officer took Chris into a closet to interrogate him. And Chris said this. So of course the cop had to take all the information into account, and he was like, alright, cool, this is what Chris had to say about it, let's go back to her. And because Nicole acted so quickly and was so on top of things, Chris couldn't dispose of any of Shannon's personal items. She noticed her purse was still there, and the medication she was supposed to take every day was still there as well. And then they contacted a neighbor who had security cameras out front of his house. And what he was able to find was shocking. The security cameras captured Chris Watts backing his pickup truck to the front of his house, and then moments later, pulling out bags and throwing them into the back of the pickup truck. And when you watch the footage, you realize Chris knows he was caught. Upon reasonable suspicion, Chris was later arrested, and it came out that Chris had murdered his wife and 2 children. 3 children if you count the child that his wife was pregnant with. He had taken them to oil canisters that were around where he worked at and disposed of the bodies. But right now, Chris Watts is in prison, rotting away, serving 5 life sentences. Sure, this was someone...
He ate him? Where was he at?
She must have been out of her head.
Part 5. This is one of the most gruesome parts, so big trigger warning. Even if you can handle these type of topics, you might be very, very disturbed. Hi, I'm Julie and I talk about true crime, dark history, and all things spooky, so if you like that, please follow me. So after the freezing baby incident, the authorities came and raided the place again in 1985 and took away all 14 children, thank God. Of course, this didn't stop them from having babies, so every time that they had a new baby, the authorities would have to come in and take them away again. Once the children were all gone, things spiraled completely out of control. Many of the cult members tried to escape, but none were ever successful. One of the members that tried to escape was actually Rock's second wife, Giselle. It was actually Giselle's idea to leave the baby out in the cold, but despite that, really bad things happened to this woman on the commune. Rock found out that Giselle was trying to escape the commune and then threw a hunting knife at her, which landed in her thigh and created a 3-inch deep wound. Rock's response to this was to have a beer and then take a nap, and then hours later wanted to operate on her leg. It had been so long since her initial injury at this point that her leg began to clot and swell. Rock pressed on her wound until it opened back up again, and then he proceeded to pour boiling hot water in her wound repeatedly. And then he filled the wound up with salt and olive oil. Somehow Giselle survived this surgery. He also blowtorched one of his wife's stomach while she was pregnant. One of his favorite things to do was blowtorch people. He even blowtorched one of his wives on her back until the skin was bubbling up. A man named Claude who lived on the commune received horrific treatment as well. Rock poured boiling hot water on him, pulled out 11 of his teeth with a pair of pliers, broke each of his toes by hand, and then sliced his arm open with a piece of glass. He got one of his wives to break Claude's leg with a sledgehammer. Claude was ordered to walk around with an elastic band wrapped tightly around his testicles. He had to keep the elastic band on overnight, and then one of his testicles swelled up to the size of an orange. This caused irreparable damage. Then of course Rock decided to operate on him the next morning. He removed one of Claude's testicles and cauterized the wound with a hot iron. The next surgery Rock performed caused another death. This is the hardest one to hear. A woman named Solange started to complain of stomach pain. Rock, of course, concludes that the best thing to do is operate. He laid Solange on the table and punched her in the stomach. He then forced a tube into her rectum to perform an enema with molasses and olive oil. I don't know what his thing with olive oil is. I'm sorry guys, you're gonna have to come back for part 6.
Disturbing.
So now a neighbor in the brick building next door is stating that he got home at 1:30 and at 4 a.m. he heard a scream coming from the house where the 4 were slain in the Idaho murders. He thought that they were throwing a party, but now he realizes it probably was a scream for help. He didn't think anything of the scream and went back to sleep, but he did notice that a black SUV that he didn't recognize was parked in their driveway. I find it interesting that a whole building down the street heard a scream at the exact time that the murders were supposed to occur, but the roommates inside of the house said they heard nothing. What do you think? Do you think that's true? Do you think that they heard nothing? Do you think that it's interesting that a man down the street heard screams, but they didn't? Comment, let me know.
Somebody capping, somebody lying.
What is the scariest thing that could happen while camping? Well, this one guy who was camping in Florida had a horrifying encounter. And before we get into it, I have a podcast episode of 2 of the scariest camping stories I've ever heard if you're interested. So years ago, a guy and his friend were camping in Florida when they came upon this old man's campground. It was in disarray, so they kind of got a bad feeling from it and they turned to leave. But then the guy comes out of the campsite and is like, oh, hey, he wants to talk to them. He starts engaging them. He's giving them suggestions of where to go in the woods, but he's telling them where to go in steps, not in miles or yards. So he's like, oh, the waterfall is 300 steps from here. And one of the guys thinks that's weird because that's really not common in the area to describe where to go. A few months pass and they basically just forget about this interaction. But one day, one of the guys calls the other guy and is like, dude, you have to turn on the TV right now. And all over the news are pictures of this guy, the guy they saw, Gary Michael Hilton, who is a serial killer who preyed upon young women in national parks, kidnapping them and taking their lives. Some of the places he told the boys to go look at were places he had hid bodies. Both men were contacted by law enforcement and ended up giving very valuable information in the investigation.
It's crazy, man. You never know who you're talking to or you're gonna run into. You're out in the wild. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.